Hello and welcome to another tutorial video. Today we are going to be looking at a piece called Romance, which is the second movement of the Sonatina in G Major, attributed to Ludwig van Beethoven. This piece is the second movement, and in another video you will have heard the first movement of this Sonatina. And this piece was one of many pieces that was found and published after the death of Mr. Beethoven, which is sometimes common, especially for great composers that are very well known. A lot of the material or the music that was part of the treasure trove of unpublished works was quickly published at a certain time after the death of the composer, just because the world really wanted to see new and interesting compositions. Now, of course, Mr. Beethoven published many, many works over his lifetime and had supplied quite a nice income off of that. But at the same time, it's always interesting when we can find other pieces and then publish them later and then enjoy further music by the composer. I can imagine that this, as well as many of the other pieces that were unpublished, were stored in his place in his apartment in many notebooks, and he would use them for teaching purposes or just, I'm sure, just as a way to have creative exercise. But at the same time, sometimes composers did not deem music to be strong enough to be published, but the public would then sometimes disagree because, as you will hear, this piece is a beautiful piece of music and is really worth playing. So we're so glad that it was published when it was. This piece comes from, this particular edition, comes from the Celebration Series Piano 6th edition Piano Repertoire book and can be found on pages 14 and 15. And this is published through the Royal Conservatory of Music in the 2022 syllabus. This piece is very interesting because it's kind of got a little bit of an upbeat character, but it's a very different, more romantic and gentle melody and mood than the first movement. And something that's very interesting about sonatinas and also sonatas, which are longer pieces for piano, is that each movement contains its own melody, own chord changes, of course, and its own mood. But the piece itself traditionally would be played as a concert. So you would play the first movement, take a very short break, just a few seconds, and then play the second movement right afterwards. And then if there are more movements, you would play those as well, so that you have a nice repertoire of music within one larger piece of music to really keep the audience engaged and interested. When we take a look at this piece, let's go over to the keyboard, and we'll take a look at something interesting. We have sometimes layered accompaniment in the left hand, which means we have to play held notes while we play other notes too. So then we can hear the bass note as well as the chord change too. This occurs in measures 3 and also 24 on the second page. We also have a couple of grace notes, and those were covered in a previous video for movement 1. And as well, cantabile means in a singing style. So we want to have a beautiful melody that almost sounds like a singer, like someone singing the melody with piano accompaniment. So you want to emulate that or create that on your instrument by playing the right hand slightly louder. There are some interesting staccato markings written, and as well some interesting phrasing markings. But without further ado, let's enjoy the second movement of the Sonatina in G Major by Beethoven, called Romance. very vibrant piece, but also lighthearted as well. You can hear the accompaniment is supporting the right hand, but there's also a nice sense of forward momentum, which means the musical lines travel towards the cadences very clearly, and you can hear each musical sentence and the story that the music tells. I do hope you enjoyed this piece, and I look forward to seeing you for another tutorial very soon. Until then, take care for now.